Shalom, Israel, first foremost. I do give all praise, all honor, and all glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, Ba'ashem Kadash, the born to the apostles, and else great millstone for teaching us his truth. Peace and blessings to the whole collective of Israel. Yahweh is the name of the Heavenly Father in Hebrew. Ba'ashem is the name, Yahweh Shai is the name of the begotten Son. Back in the lesson, as you see within the title, going to be going to the hatred towards the Israelites. As you see right here within this caption of this video, I'm going to say verbatim, so a Hispanic man lynched in Washington, D.C. Where are the cameras? He said, my heart hurts. So it's further going to show that we are still in captivity, still further going to show the hatred that this devil has for our people. And yes, Hispanic, so-called Mexicans are Israelites. Because you still have a lot of these BOIs, which stands for Black Only Israelites, heavily pushing that. The Northern Kingdom is just all so-called black, which is just off. And clearly, debunk it, via the scriptures and, looking throughout history of, everything that our people, have been through. And we're the same people, going through the same things. But came across this video, actually, looked up the article to go more in depth into it, which, they're listing it as a suicide, that he took himself out. This sounds like something that this devil would do. When we look through at history, should tell you, the traits of this devil, the things he's done to our people. So not only you see this with the Northern Kingdom, you see it with the Southern Kingdom, which consists of the so-called African Americans, on Judah, Benjamin, Levi, on down. I believe it was an article a while back where you had, a Jake that was hung also. That was a while back, but this place real quick. Get a couple.
A man was found lynched in a tree outside of a police station in Washington, D.C. They left his body in the tree as they did their investigation. A Hispanic man was found.
People were saying in the comments, Hispanic people also used to get lynched in the 1800s, 1900s. Its history was erased. I don't think it was just so-called Black Americans. They used to do to everyone non-white. And really the main focal point, the main target is Jake, Israel, the 12 tribes. We're the main focal point of all this devil's attacks, especially the heathen nations, which they also played a role, in the captivity of the nation of Israel. Which you can get that within the scriptures, how they have pretty much joined together to go against us. They're confederate against thee. But I want to say we're the same people. I checked the article once again, and it's like no, media outlets really speaking on this. But this young man found hanging from tree in Northwest. MPD issues public statement days later. And it says, for 3 days, the Metropolitan Police Department didn't issue a public statement about a young man's body found hanging from a tree near its 4th District headquarters. District resident instead relied on footage that Eon Williams gathered and posted online. On the afternoon of April 13th, shortly after a relative calling him, Williams drove to Quackenbow Street between 9th Street and George Avenue. As he recounted, that's where he saw MPD officers setting up a perimeter, cutting the young man's body from a tree and discouraging onlookers from recording video and taking photos. And I'll read his last bit right here. That was pretty much how I discovered what had happened. Williams told the informer. When they cut the body out of the tree, I ended up seeing the body on the ground. And this is the other point I was mentioning right here, which jumps straight to the point in the middle part. It says, currently no foul play is suspected, and this is being investigated as a suicide. Yeah, right. So MPD statement said the descendant's family has been contacted by MPD, and our hearts go out to him during this difficult time. So yeah, he's gonna go and hang himself on a tree. But like I mentioned that point earlier, sounds like something this devil would do, So it's the first time you've seen, Jake, get hung on a tree, especially in this time, And it's 1 Peter 5:8 says, "Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about seeking whom he may devour." So this devil wants to take you out. He wants to. Just be careful with my words. Point being, he wants to take you out. He wants you dead. One more time from the top: "Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about seeking whom he may devour." So you see his devil looking and jumping at any chance he can get in order to get his hands on you. This is why we especially, get within the scriptures, agree with that adversary quickly. It really is, dealing with, the authorities, the police officers. You see Jake always, kind of raising the tensions and not just doing what they need to do. Making things harder for themselves and really just giving this devil the ammo and the justification to, shoot you down, take you out, which is what he wants. Matter of fact, a lot of these devils will, falsely accuse Jake in order to, get them caught up and, in trouble, taken out. Matter of fact, you had this one video where if Jake was pulled over at a not a police stop, at the gas station, and you had police officers, yelled out he has a gun. And Jake has both hands, out the window. So this devil wants to kill you, But I was just bringing that point out where to, apply wisdom. Because the devil, he wants to take you out. But you do see situations, like that where this devil tried to, heavily push for it. When you have Jake actually listening and complying. Just goes to just how wicked this devil is, And why we need the Lord. Is Ezekiel 35:5, and it says, "Because I had a perpetual hatred and had shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword, and the time of the calamity and the time the iniquity had an end." So that main point, dealing with this perpetual hatred this devil has for us. That word perpetual going to never ending, everlasting, a forever hatred which he has kept since the beginning. And his ways are unchanging. Because the Lord set him up to do, to be the bad guy, to be the wicked. He's literally called the wicked, which you get that Malachi 1:4. 2 Timothy 1, it says, "This know also in the last days perilous times shall come." So over some difficult, terrible, troublesome times. As we read in the first scripture we got, power to be sober, be vigilant, being watchful, being careful. There's also another one I'm thinking of, because the days are evil. I forgot the exact chapter, what it was. Ephesians, okay. Ephesians 5:16-18 says, "Redeeming the time because the days are evil." And really, that's the point. Verse 15, which I should have got before, which I thought he actually had, but it says, "See that you walk circumspectly, not as fools, but as wise, redeeming the time because the days are evil." So there were some evil times. Now, you're seeing this cold, terrible spirit this devil's walking in, and these people in general, Matthew 4:12, "And because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold." Was this some stuff that you would see, it would take place way back then? And they want to list it as a suicide. He took himself out. But once as we can especially see it, throughout the scriptures, we're still in captivity. This is Baruch 3:8. It says this is why you constantly see our people suffering, in this rulership, not prospering. This ain't our kingdom. This is not our rulership. As Baruch 3:8 said, "Behold, we are yet this day in our captivity, to where thou hast scattered us for a reproach and a curse, to be subject to payments, and you also get in scripture how we were called, bywords. So you have, our people are now, called today as, so-called African Americans, with Jones tribe of Judah. The tribe of Issachar being, so-called Mexicans, and all these, the list goes on. As well as dealing with these various slurs that this devil, and these heathens, call us. These are all, bywords, and the scripts go into the curses. And who fits that bill? That's just, another cut to these, BOIs and these bugged out Jakes. Now it says, for a reproach and a curse to be subject to payments according to all iniquities of our fathers which departed from the Lord our power. So we were punished, for our wickedness, our rebellion against the ways of Yahweh Bashem Nashah, which you get in Deuteronomy 28, where the Lord said he would do these things so that if we didn't listen and hearken unto him. But you're also going to have this devil, get what's coming to him. I was going to, return upon his own head, which I want to say, get Deuteronomy 30:7. It goes into that, as well as the book of Obadiah, if I'm correct. But it's Isaiah 14:21 through 20 to 22 is what I want to get. It's to prepare slaughter for his children, for the iniquity of their fathers, that they do not rise nor possess the land nor fill the face of the world with cities. Because you have this devil will say, well, I didn't own any slaves, I didn't do any of that. You see me right now, I don't do any of that type of stuff. I don't feel that way, this and that. Well, you still have to pay for the crimes of your forefathers. Now, you may have not done anything in this life, but it doesn't mean you didn't do anything in your past life. And yes, reincarnation is real. Now, verse 22, for I'll rise up against them, said the Lord of hosts, and cut off from Babylon the name and the remnant and son and nephew, said the Lord. So his devil will pay for his crimes and atrocities he has committed. As you especially see within this situation, which doesn't sound or look like a suicide. It looks like he'd take himself out. Like I said, just looks like something this devil would do. And just further go into this hatred, as you can also get various videos and other articles going into just the display of hatred this devil has for us. So in Jeremiah 37, we're time of Jacob's trouble. Especially seeing all these situations dealing with ICE. See with the northern kingdom and also the southern kingdom. So all 12 tribes are being affected because they were the target. But that's it right there. I didn't close out. Give all praise, all honor,